Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today we are tackling a situation that almost all of us face at some point, but honestly, very few people know how to handle perfectly. Disputing a bank charge. Whether it's some mystery subscription you swear you never signed up for or an online order that literally never arrived, knowing the exact steps to dispute a charge with Bank of America can save you hundreds or even thousands of dollars. So whether you're a total beginner who has never even challenged a bank statement before, or you're a seasoned pro just looking to maximize your chances of winning a dispute, you are in the right place. Think of this explainer as your ultimate guide to protecting your hard-earned money.
Okay, let's just jump right into our roadmap for today. We're going to break this down into 6 really manageable steps: understanding your statement, the initial steps to take, contacting Bank of America, gathering your evidence, navigating the actual process, and finally, strict timelines and resolution. Let's get started.
First up, step 1, understanding your bank statement. Because, well, before you can fight a charge, you have to accurately identify the problem. Now picture this. You're scrolling through your Bank of America app, maybe having your morning coffee, and suddenly, boom, you spot it. A mystery charge for $150 from a merchant you do not recognize at all. Instant panic, right? But wait, take a breath. The absolute first thing you must check is the status of that transaction. You need to know, is it pending or has it posted? This is a totally crucial distinction. You see, a pending charge is temporary. It might just drop off on its own, or the amount might change, kind of like when a gas station puts a temporary hold on your card. Bank of America's policy actually dictates that you cannot dispute a pending charge. You literally have to wait until the transaction has officially posted to your account to initiate any kind of formal claim.
It is absolutely vital to know the difference between a legitimate dispute reason and an invalid one. Honestly, this is where a lot of people trip up. A valid reason means true fraud, like a stolen card, or a genuine merchant error, like them charging you twice, charging the wrong amount, or just completely failing to ship the item. On the flip side, an invalid reason includes things like buyer's remorse or, simply forgetting to cancel a free trial. Trying to dispute a charge just because you regret a purchase is not a legal basis for chargeback. In fact, doing so can actually be considered first-party fraud. Remember, the bank is there to protect you from errors and theft, not from just changing your mind.
So you've verified the charge has posted, and you know for sure you have a valid reason. Let's look at step 2, the initial steps you need to take before ever involving the bank.
I know this might sound completely counterintuitive, but your first call shouldn't actually be to Bank of America. It should be to the merchant. Now, unless it's a super obvious case of identity theft or a stolen card, Bank of America strongly encourages, and sometimes even requires, that you attempt to resolve the issue with the business first. Why? Well, because a merchant-initiated refund is vastly faster and easier than a bank-initiated chargeback. Say you bought a couch that was never delivered. Call the furniture store. Often a simple 5-minute phone call can clear up a billing error and save you weeks of frustrating bank investigations.
But what happens if the merchant just ignores you, flat out refuses to help, or you realize you're dealing with a blatant scammer? Step 3. That is when you bring in the heavy artillery and contact Bank of America.
The really great thing here is that you have multiple avenues to start a dispute, completely tailored to how you like to handle your finances. You can use the Bank of America mobile app. You can even just type, "I want to dispute a transaction," right to the Erica virtual assistant. You can log into the online banking platform on your computer. If you're someone who prefers speaking to a real human, they have dedicated 24/7 phone lines for credit card customer service and specific lines for debit and checking accounts. And for those who love a good old-fashioned paper trail, you can always physically mail your dispute forms to their specialized operational centers. The choice is yours.
Okay, step 4. Once you make contact, you enter the evidence stage. Listen closely because this is exactly where cases are either won or lost.
Banks apply a no-fault rule to customers during disputes. But the burden of proof? That is entirely on you. The bank isn't going to play private investigator for you. If you submit nothing or you just send in the wrong documents, you're probably going to lose. You have to provide what they call compelling evidence. What does that mean? It means gathering your purchase receipts, delivery tracking that proves an item was sent to the wrong state, emails where the merchant stubbornly refused to help, or confirmation numbers proving you actually canceled a subscription before you were billed. Organize all of this meticulously. Building an absolutely airtight case up front is for sure your best defense against getting your claim denied.
All right, you've got your evidence in hand. Step 5. Let's look at the actual mechanics of navigating the dispute process. Submitting your dispute digitally is incredibly straightforward. It's really just a few clicks. Log into your account, navigate over to the Activity tab, and track down that troublesome transaction. When you click on it to expand the details, you'll see a specific link pop up that says, "Dispute this transaction." Clicking that link launches a really simple guided questionnaire, where you just input your reason codes and upload those carefully gathered pieces of evidence we literally just talked about. Easy, right?
Now, if you choose to go the paper route and submit a dispute offline, you have to be perfectly thorough. You must provide all the transaction dates, merchant names, and dispute reasons. But here is the biggest trap you have to watch out for. Part 6, the cardholder signature. A physical or electronic signature is absolutely 100% mandatory. If you mail in an unsigned form, it will be rejected, no questions asked. This causes massive delays and can seriously jeopardize your entire claim if you end up running out of time. And speaking of running out of time, that brings us to step 6, our final and perhaps most important section, timelines and final resolution.
If you remember only one single thing from this entire explainer, make it this number right here, 60. Under the Fair Credit Billing Act and Bank of America's own rules, you generally have a strict 60-day time limit to file a dispute. But listen very closely to this part. That is 60 days from the date of the statement on which the error first appeared, not necessarily the date you made the purchase. If you wait 61 days, you might forfeit your right to get that money back entirely. Time is absolutely of the essence here.
Once you hit submit within that 60-day window, a whole new set of clocks starts ticking. By law, for debit card errors, banks usually must issue a provisional credit to your account within 5 to 10 business days while they investigate. Basically, they give you the money back temporarily. But here's a massive trap to avoid. Bank of America might send a request to your online banking message center asking for more documentation. You have exactly 12 business days to reply to them. If you just ignore that message, they can automatically deny your claim and take that provisional credit right back out of your account. Ouch. From start to finish, the maximum resolution time for the whole investigation is typically 2 billing cycles, or up to 90 days.
So what in the world is happening during those 90 days? Well, behind the scenes, a dispute is a two-way street. Bank of America takes your claim and issues a chargeback to the merchant's bank. But the merchant isn't defenseless. They typically get a 20 to 30-day window to submit counter evidence. For example, they might provide a signed delivery receipt proving you actually did receive the item. Bank of America then evaluates both sides of the story. If either side vehemently disagrees with the outcome, the case can escalate to a pretty costly phase called pre-arbitration, and that can add another 30 to 60 days to the process before a final network decision is made. It can be a bit of a roller coaster.
And that brings us to the end of our journey through the dispute process. Now, as a quick reminder, the material we've covered today is for informational use only. Personal financial situations can be highly specific, so always consult Bank of America directly or seek professional financial guidance for your own unique issues. But armed with this new knowledge, you are no longer at the mercy of random billing errors or unresponsive merchants. You know the rules, you know the timelines, and you know exactly what evidence is needed to win. So I'll leave you with this final thought. The next time you spot a weird error on your statement, are you ready to take control of your financial security? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and stay financially vigilant out there.